Since the indie gaming space is flooded with new games coming out every day, I wanted to make this video to focus on some indie titles that I really enjoyed this year, along with some honorable mentions at the end. This list is in no particular order, so let's get on to the first game. Lagron Legacy brought me back to a time with the style of JRPGs that I grew up with. I put over 60 hours into it and I enjoyed the whole cast of characters. I really enjoyed how they would struggle with acting as a team, and there was a lot of friction among them and friendship. The music is absolutely fantastic. Everything from the overworld theme to the battle theme is excellent. The combat was great and engaging with the throwback turn-based battles that I love. The hand-drawn backgrounds mixed with the soundtrack really brought this game to life. While the main combat is engaging, the game provided you with plenty of side activities that are worth doing. You'll have side stories, many mini-games like RTS strategy sections, and a gladiator combat arena along with many more. I do think this game is a great example of using nostalgia to its advantage to gain some initial interest, and then it really captures you with what it has to offer. This is a game that I completed earlier this year and it really stayed with me. I know it is being ported to all major systems in 2019, and I really hope this great game gets the attention it deserves. A lot of love and care was put into this, and it's seen throughout every aspect of the project. On top of that, they have worked to better and improve their own game along with pleasant interactions with their community. Lagron Legacy pulled me in with its nostalgia and kept me engaged with its craft. I have nothing but love for it. Tangle Deep is a charming and addictive 16-bit RPG that would fit right at home on the SNES. Tangle Deep does tug at your nostalgia heartstrings, just like Lagron Legacy. The nostalgia is used to invite you in, and the game stands on its own with something special to offer. Tangle Deep does provide some nice options for players that want a more traditional roguelike experience, along with options for players that would like to just enjoy the game without the fear of permanent death. The main gameplay centers around battling through dungeons, and there's some nice strategy to it. As you move your character, the enemy will move, so you can choose to not move and take your time to assess the environment and choose how you want to attack. Defeated enemies will net you with experience points and loot. Tangle Deep does lend itself to being enjoyed for quick sessions or for long play sessions. There's many options to discover along with your town and all the characters that you can select in the beginning of the game. The game does capture your attention, and it all starts with a wonderful and inviting soundtrack that hits you right away at the main menu. This is coming to the Switch, so keep an eye out for this one. Masters of Annamayya is a fun single-player RPG RTS action-adventure game. You're on a journey to restore your wife-to-be. Along the way, you'll summon guardians to help you on your quest. These can be used kind of like Pikmin. You summon a variety of classes and use them in different combinations. You'll face off against large foes in combat arenas and solve puzzles throughout the environments. While the story won't grab you, the soundtrack that plays throughout your journey will definitely keep you engaged with the solid gameplay. This 8 to 10 hour adventure is really enjoyable and will scratch that Pikmin itch. Fullmetal Fury should have received more attention considering when it launched at the beginning of 2018 on the Xbox was really hurting for some good exclusives, and here was one of their best games. From the makers of the excellent Lagron Legacy comes their take on the action RPG beat-em-up genre. Fullmetal Fury provides 4 unique classes that play very differently from each other, making room for great replay as you'll want to try them all out. You can choose between the tank, sniper, fighter, and engineer classes. The sniper has slow maneuverability, but can move around the battlefield with its hookshot, along with being able to do a lot of damage. The engineer uses pistols and an automated turret. The tank is very different from the last 2 classes in that it only has a shield, which can be used for offensive and defensive moves. Her dodge can be used to close distance between enemies or outright hit them. The shield system complements the co-op action nicely, as there will be many instances of enemies having different colored shields, and the player of that color needs to hit that enemy first to take that shield down. The game is fun to play in single player as well, as you can switch between 2 characters on the fly. You can also find this game on the Switch, and it's a great game with friends or by yourself. There's a lot to love here, and it's an awesome game. This is most definitely one of the best games I have played in early access and one of the best indie games I have ever played. The levels and action are fast and very satisfying. The levels consist of shooting bad guys and sometimes taking care of an objective or 2. The guns are loud and powerful. These really subvert what you would expect the guns to sound like in a game that looks like this more retro style. The guns usually result in some very satisfying violence. The different classes allow for some good replay and variability. Since the levels are sectioned off by different rooms, you can treat each room with some strategy. Sometimes you'll need to just defeat all the enemies within a stage, or you need to be able to get through some of the areas and rescue the hostages. Rescuing the hostages allows for you to increase your power bar, which gives you different power-ups to help you out. The action is fantastic, and so is the soundtrack. This has one of the best soundtracks I have ever heard. I love the 80s style music here. Door Kickers Action Squad is a fantastic title that I highly recommend. Space Jack was a small and delightful title that I played earlier this year. It is a side-scrolling tower defense game. The action is very engaging as you need to try to manage several rooms that are under attack by enemy forces. In many cases, this will cause you to quickly tear down the towers you have in one location and then build them back up in another. It has a lot of fun to offer. The soundtrack is really good as well here. Like many solid indies, this title has some really good simple fun to it. It's worth looking into. Guns, Gore, and Cannoli 2 really spoiled me when I played it. The action, art style, over-the-top nature are all great. It's like an 80s action flick, with all those enemies that you'll need to be contending with. Enemies die in bloody ways, with heads blowing up and body parts flying around. The game comes packed with guns too. You have shotguns, rocket launchers, and the awesome Tommy guns. The game is longer and better than the first game, plus you can play through it in online co-op. It is refreshingly old school and the core gameplay is so great. Synthetic is an enjoyable quality roguelite. The gun combat is both intense and satisfying. The game does require you to manage your ammo than most shooters, in which you need to make sure that if you reload and there's some remaining ammo in your magazine, you're going to lose that when you hit the reload button. Along with that, reloading does take a few button presses, so you need to factor this all into the combat. You need to assess the battlefield and judge how much ammo you're going to need and then take that risk. The game is really hard, but always really satisfying. The guns are enjoyable, and I hope this gets released on the Switch in the future. Rigid Force Alpha is a fun shoot-'em-up side-scroller that doesn't do anything new, but does almost everything right. The presentation is solid, there's some short cutscenes that help build up the situations and the world. Along with that, I love the simple intro cutscene that really gets you into the action. The action itself is rather good as well here. You will collect the typical power-ups throughout the levels, along with gaining new orbs that act as additional guns. You can move their positions on the fly, so you can decide to make your shots more narrow or wide, or even fire behind you. This is a quality title that's worth playing. Now I wanted to provide some attention to some more indies that I enjoyed this year, so here are some brief clips from these honorable mentions. And thanks for watching.